exalted patron for this episode is Mystic. Mystic, thank you for all the support. You're making this community great. Hello everyone, Venus here, and today we are doing something a little bit different. We are making a tier list today because I never ever before made a tier list. I didn't find the need for it, but as the last case update is near, the last update for SFO Grimhammer II for Total War Warhammer 2, I thought it would be fun to make a tier list of vanilla factions against the SFO factions. We are not comparing the power or amount of content, nothing like that. The sheer fun of playing a faction. So I will be comparing what factions I like to play in vanilla and what factions I don't like to play in SFO, etc. So let's start. The first faction we have in vanilla is the Beastmen, and many people will be surprised with my choice right now because I really don't like playing Beastmen in vanilla overall. I think it's a faction that is way too strong and overpowered right now. Playing Taurox is especially the amount of power he have. It's like unlocking all the final rewards in first 10 turns. It's playing Taurox, and it's similar with Kazrak, Malago, etc. Especially because you have so many recruitment points that you can recruit armies in terms of turn or 1 turn or 2 turns and just crush AI that can handle you. And yeah, so the vanilla playstyle of Beastmen, I think it's a C for me. I think that the faction is way too overpowered right now. It would need to have some adjustments, but it's way different when we are talking about Beastmen in SFO. So in terms of the horde factions, I think it's we made very good adjustments to what vanilla was doing. So it's a little bit weaker. There aren't that much big changes, so I would say that it's not it's like a better than vanilla. I would say it's like have the changes that I like, so slower pace, less overpowered. So I would say that they would be a B. So when vanilla was C, here would be a B. Bretonnia in vanilla are a very chilling faction, I would say. It's a faction that I like, but they don't have any substance with them, so I will be going easy here, so a B. This is a very basic faction. They don't have any bigger mechanics, any content that really flesh them out from other factions. The things like chivalry aged very poorly in compared to the rest of the content in Warhammer 2. So yeah, this is a B faction. This is good factions for newcomers that want to try the game. In SFO, being honest, I think it's the same. It's a basic faction that doesn't have a lot of substance with it, but fun overall and good for new players. And Dwarfs are a very particular example here because they in vanilla, before the update, before the rework, they were just terrible. This was one of the worst and boring factions I ever played, I would say, and it is even more hard for me because Dwarfs are my crush from Warhammer 1. I like this faction a lot, and I played the most in terms of vanilla even in this faction. So again, I would say they are an A for me. They are an A. I like the slower pace of this faction, but with the recent changes that removed all the requirements from Forge, things like that, I think this killed some uniqueness from this faction. It's a cool faction, but it really lacks uniqueness. It's similar to Bretonnia. I'm giving them one higher because I like Dwarfs more than Bretonnia. In SFO, it's an S tier. It's an S tier, absolutely, because of one reason that we made. Dwarves are fully self-sustained faction because all their resources are from the buildings. All their income came from buildings, and this is making the faction fully self-sustained. So a gameplay of a faction like Dwarves that are fully self-sustained and able to close themselves for the from all the world around. I think this is a playstyle that I really like, and this is an Easter for me. Dwarfs, self-sustain faction, great. Okay, we have Greenskins. Greenskins also had a very massive rework. They added wogs, Grom, the Punch, and this is also a faction that suffer from a very similar problem that the Beastmen have. So very overpowered faction without ways to get the power. It's not as bad as Beastmen, but it's problematic still, especially if we're playing Grom the Punch. Very interesting thing is also that the DLC with Warden and the Punch was the first DLC that introduced like a powerful, very, very powerful power creep DLC that made all the other factions very bland. Grom for a very long time was way too strong. He's way too strong, stronger than Ikid for me, etc. So in vanilla there's a power creep, but when we are looking for the Beastmen, it's a similar thing. So I like to play them, but I think that some adjustment would be made. And to be honest, in SFO it's similar. We have adjustment, we have changes, but they're playing more or less the same. And yeah, this would be a B tier for me, a faction that I like to play, but not that often. Lizardmen. Oh boy, I think that the Lizardmen in vanilla right now are one of the most boring and broken factions. The only redeeming value for the Lizardmen for me are their units. Their unit roster, thanks to many DLCs, are great, but mechanics, technologies, geomantic web, all of those things are boring and just no. This is downgrade to some of the vanilla factions. This is the last tier. The D tier for me, faction that in vanilla playing for me is like a penalty, really. Way different in SFO again, because we changed the faction overall, how they are playing, technologies trees. So like in vanilla they are like a hybrid of Empire, let's say, a faction that wants to be good but have some problems with own identity. For in SFO, I think the Lizardmen are in a way better spot, because this is what I was saying with the Dwarfs. Dwarfs are self-sustained factions. That's why I like them. When Lizardmen are a combination of self-sustain and post-battle. So they are more dynamic factions. I would say and it's an A tier. I like them a lot, especially in terms of the technology tree that we totally work in SFO. And we recombine some of the changes from the recruitment building, so it's easier to get specific units. Tomb Kings. Tomb Kings are, in terms of vanilla, I think one of the best and most fleshed out factions right now. And yeah, in Tomb Kings, I had a lot of fun playing Tomb Kings in vanilla. They didn't age so poorly, so I would say it's an S tier. When they release, they had a lot of good content, a lot of good quality. Some of the effects would require a little bit more, I would say, updates, adjustments, and the also redeeming factor of this faction is that it's versus self-sustained faction, and I like it. I have one of the best end game missions, final battles in the game. What's in SFO? In SFO, they are a little bit different. They are less self-sustained. So, being like fully honest, do I like to play them? I'm not a big fan, to be honest. When I compare them to rest of the factions, I would say that in SFO they are C. They are C for me, C tier. Not they are bad or anything. I just would, in SFO, I would play other factions much more often. Yeah, I like them. They are playing similar to what is in vanilla, but if you compare them to the rest of the faction, for me it's a C tier. I play them way less than the other factions when I can. Wow, High Elves. High Elves were an Empire faction for the Warhammer 2. So the basic faction, the faction that you are learning on, that was on most advertisement, things like that. And god damn it, they are so boring in vanilla. They have no substance to it at all. The influence system is just so bland. No. The things are like not working for me at all. And for me in vanilla, it's one of the boring factions. Really, they are boring to oblivion for me. Nothing redeems them. Athul Thamara prison for Elfarion a little bit in the DLC, but they are boring as hell. Especially that they are a hybrid faction with range units, and in vanilla the range units are just overpowered, and you're just going through the whole game without any problems. So no, really, those guys are not my cup of tea. Okay, so in vanilla, they played a little bit different. There is a much higher emphasis on each legendary lord, and I would say they are B for me. They are B. They are a faction that I like. I like the aesthetics of them, because this simple fact that the range units are a little bit nerfed. We have still a lot of hybrid units, but they are played more emphasize on other stuff than only range units and trade, because let's be honest, in vanilla they have nothing more besides that. So yeah, in SFO, in terms of playing, they are B tier for me. I like to play them from time to time. Dark Elf, for example, are another thing that is very problematic for me, because on the paper, even on vanilla, this is a great faction. This is a really good faction in vanilla, but the slave economy is broken. It's broken like the Great Canyon, let's say. The slaves mechanic is just broken. The amount of money that you can get from it is wow. It's just wow. And also they have nothing besides that. They didn't have any good DLC, let's be honest. The Crown and the Malus were there. Nothing really cool. I like the roster, but in terms of campaign playing, also the Murderous prowess. Oh my god, the Murderous mechanic prowess is the faction mechanic in terms of battle that I think to this day is one of the worst, if not the worst, because you have no control of it. You are losing the effect in most cases because, I don't know, not all of units were attacking, or you were using range units. Many examples. So yeah, they will see. They are a little bit better than High Elves in terms of vanilla, but no. I really don't like playing them at all. Okay, but what about them in SFO? And in SFO, I would say an A. I would say it's an A. It's way more fun to play them because of how the slaves are changed, and the fact that you don't need to rely only on slaves to make everything fun, and the fact that we try to change Murderous Prowess to have permanent effect after the main effect stops working. Those two are redeeming quality for this faction overall. And so yeah, I would be saying that I like to play them on the same tier as Lizardmen. Yeah. Norska, wow, this is problematic because Norska, when they released 8 months after release of Warhammer II pre-order, they received no updates beside the skills for the characters, the Frog and Wulfric. Recently, they have nothing. This is what mostly neglected faction in Warhammer 2, and how our playstyle is. I think the playstyle of the Norska is good. This is the faction that have very good playstyle, but they really lack proper adjustments, so proper changes to effects, etc. in vanilla for ages. So I would say this is This is a B tier. In vanilla, I would say it's a B tier. B tier for me. In terms of how I like to play them, no, it's C. Let's go with C. Let's go with C because if I would like to play I would not play them more than the Dark Elves and the Beastmen, let's say, in vanilla. Yeah, they are very overpowered in vanilla, which is fun because it helps them a lot in vanilla because how problematic the faction is. So this is only faction that being overpowered is a good idea. In SFO, we made a lot of changes to the Norska, trying to help them, and I think they would be on the same tier as the Tomb Kings. Funny enough, because Tomb Kings and Norska had their rework together, so a C tier when I compare to the rest of the faction. And why is a C tier? I think the problem for me in SFO is not the mechanics, etc. This is the thing that is not that a big problem in vanilla. I don't like the roster. This is a minor faction. I think that there should be no focus on minor factions in the trilogy overall. Like Norska, Vampire, because those are the factions that should be left over. I would like to have a full, proper rework of Empire more than playable Norska. That's my opinion. So, yeah, I would say this is a good faction, but how much I like to play them, the style of riding and making settlements only in specific location, I would say it's a C tier for me, so on the level of Tomb Kings. Empire, oh my god. Okay, so Empire, the most beloved and most popular faction in Warhammer Fantasy Battle overall. I think that in vanilla, and this will be very controversial, I think is a D tier. I would even add it on the lower, because I think the sheer randomness of the rework that was some time ago, so added this elector count system, etc., and you have those random events, is terrible. I won't use hard words. I hate it. I hate it to oblivion. How Empire is broken because of it. The fact that you need to rely on random events each turn is just terrible. I hate it. You don't have any control over your Empire. You don't feel any control over your Empire. It's just terrible. Especially that with actual tools right now, it could be way better to do this faction. My idea would be that all those events, yeah, they are still random, but they are like letters in a special panel, and you decide when you want to open those letters. And each of those letters would have duration. If you don't open this letter and get a dilemma and decide for, let's say, 5 turns, you get the worst result from it, or you losing authority, things like that. You need to deal with them, same as right now, but at your own pace. You are an emperor. You are deciding when to take stuff. Also, Marcus Wolfhard campaign Medeos is just terrible. Wow, this one was one of the worst DLCs campaign I ever played in this game. So yeah, Empire is a D tier, very bad faction, very bad rework, elector count system, great on paper, units that we are getting terrible because we are not getting even half of the units that are very popular from the lore, like Nuln, Ironsides, Hochland, etc. No. Sorry, but no. In the SFO, we really tried to fix this faction, but I think that this elector count system is so deeply entrenched into this faction that it's beyond redemption. The only thing that can be done with it would be total removal or moving to this new panel that I was talking. So same in SFO. We really tried. I tried a lot of times, even with this last update, but it's a D tier. This is the faction that I really don't like to play. This is a faction that went from AS before the rework, that's to D for me. The sheer randomness of this faction is just... I no more words. Okay, vampire counts. This is a very particular example because vampire counts were the faction that had the most free content in Warhammer 1. And in Warhammer 2, they were totally neglected to the point of getting blood kisses, bloodlines mechanic, which is great. I think it's one of the most simple yet just working mechanic for the vampire counts that gives you the those semi-legendary lords and faction-wide rewards for doing things that vampires should do. So actions involving your agents, heroes, against enemy leaders and their characters. So in vanilla, I really like to play them. I think this is the faction that really works, even to the fact that you can cheese them a lot with free armies, things like that. I had a lot of fun playing them, and yeah, this would be a B tier for me. Yeah, this is a B tier, the faction that I generally would say that is good to play. In SFO, right now, after this update, I would say it's an A. As for one redeeming factor, but not redeeming, the factor that is, I think, we made great. So the blood kisses mechanic, and the fact also that in battles you're relying more on your characters than in vanilla. Not only free armies, but your characters that are very powerful. Yeah, vampire counts. I like this faction, and how often I play them in SFO, I would say it's an A. It's an A. This is like a. I was always thinking about vampire count as a faction I like. This is a faction I like. I play them. They're cool. Ooh, we are getting to Warriors of Chaos. Yes. Warriors of Chaos. Oh. That campaign in vanilla was my first campaign in Warhammer 1. I launched it, played Warriors of Chaos for several turns, and I wanted to refund the game. I was generally crushed by the fact how bad this faction is. My favorite lore Warhammer Fantasy faction is just utterly garbage in vanilla. Let's face it. Warriors of Chaos should never be released in vanilla in such a state. So this is a D. There is nothing more to talk about this faction. This is a D. In SFO, being fully honest, especially recently with added demons, so more ways to emphasize the fact that you have different chaos gods, you have chaotic sacrifices, a lot of great modders help us with making new models like Chaos Robbie, for example. This is an A. I love playing this is an S. I love playing Warriors of Chaos in SFO. I think that we made fantastic work here, and this is a faction that really feels like a faction, because in vanilla this is not a faction. This is a concept. This is something paper. Sorry for being triggered a lot, but damn, I hate Chaos Warriors in vanilla. That's just a fact. Skaven were the first campaign that I had in Warhammer 2, and I really had fun with them. I felt that I'm Skaven. In terms of visuals, in terms of DLCs, in terms of roster, this is one of the best factions in vanilla right now. This is the most fun factions also. So this is an A. Everyone knows that when Skaven are released as a part of the DLC, they will get the best stuff. The creative teams that are making Skaven DLCs for Total War Warhammer 2 are just genius. Everything they did is great. Shadowy dealings, labs, workshop, etc. Only flaw is that Quick and Scrog to this day have nothing, and they are very bad in compared to the rest. But overall, in terms of how much I like to play them, I would even say S. I would say S. Yeah, let's go with S. This is the most fun faction in vanilla for me. In SFO, yes, similar. This is one of the best factions that I like to play, if not the best. So yeah, I'm going S. I'm also going S. Same reasons that I talk in vanilla section. With a change that Quick and Scrog and Trench. I forgot about Trench. Everyone forgets about Trench. They have unique stuff. And so yeah, this is an S. This is Warhammer 2 is an Skaven game. It's S like Skaven. Let's be honest. This is a Skaven game. So yeah. I love Skaven. Vampire Coast. Very hard to judge, because on the release they were overpowered to oblivion. I had the deck gunners unit. I don't the guys with the big guns. I think those are named deck gunners. They were OP to oblivion. The final battle that is in Vampire Coast, which is great. Overall, the story in Vortex campaign is great. The visuals in this battle are wow, just amazing. And I remember when the enemy army, I won't spoil, enemy army came, my 10 deck gunners just melted the enemy before they even went below 80% ammo. So that was everyone was just dead. So no. And as recently I was revisiting this faction, I think it's one of the best designs that Creative Assembly ever did in terms of faction, because you have tons of mechanics that work. The problem is that effects on many of those mechanics are very underwhelming. Like, for example, treasure hunting is just very underwhelming and not worth it late game. At overall, always it's not worth it. And also, the big problem for me is that the fact that those are pirates. I'm not a big fan of pirates theme. My wife really likes Pirates of the Caribbean movies and things like that, but I'm not a big fan. So if someone asked me to play them in vanilla, I would say this is a C. This is not a faction that I like to play. I think they have way too many problems in terms of adjustment. This is also a faction that really is really good, like comparing them to Beastmen, but would need to get a lot of small adjustments to make them way better. Wow, and SFO, this would be a problematic because we only made some adjustment to the faction, and even that I really like them, but we did, I would say it's the same. It's a C tier because of the fact that the pirates, I don't like playing pirates, like the ships, cannons, all these things is just not me. The trailer was good, the music was good in the trailer, but it's a C. This is not a faction that I like to play, also because of the fact that we didn't change much in compared to vanilla besides adjustments and new stuff. Kislev and Border Princess, those are the factions that are not playable right now, but we have bears. We have Wood Elves. Oh my god, Wood Elves are... Wood Elves are total no-brainer in vanilla. Also, this is a very easy faction to play with. They are very strong. With the rework that had a lot of good ideas, but also a lot of strange outcomes. This is hard, This is very hard because in terms of lore, I really like them. As a lore and things that I like Dur 2, I really like mini campaign in Warhammer 1 with them. But do I like to play them? How often I like to play them? This is hard, really. I would say B. B only for Dur 2 because I like Dur 2. Yeah, so it would be a B. It's an okay faction. Nothing really big for me. Yeah. This would be B. In SFO. We added one thing that I really love. It's based on Age of Sigmar. I know, Age of Sigmar, but also was in the lore in fantasy. Kurnov warriors, so a 3-man with swords and bows. This is a thing that such a redeeming factor from being SFO. Like, in terms of campaign, there are adjustments, some new stuff, etc. But in terms of battle, I think we added the thing that really makes this faction for me working, more 3 units. Because why they didn't added more 3 units? They added Zotes. Zotes, the units that no one was asking. Imagine if we got a 3 unit, like a 3, in the size of troll warriors with bows, spears, or even swords. That would be great. That would be great in making Durtu and Draika roster way better. So yeah, in SFO it's an A tier. It's an A tier for me, way better because of those roster changes. And I think it will be all. Let's look on the list first. So on a S and D, the most, the best, and the worst. So faction that I like to play the most in vanilla would be Tomb Kings and Skaven. The worst faction are Lizardmen, High Elves, Empire, and Chaos Warriors. And going to SFO, the best factions that I like to play are the Dwarfs, Chaos Warriors, and Skaven. The worst are Empire. So Empire is on the worst placed in both cases here. It's a funny and sad story. Okay, guys, I hope you liked this video, and who knows, I will be making maybe more tier list in the future, but I think there are a lot of them in the internet right now, so I don't feel need. I wonder how those tier lists will be changing when Warhammer 3 releases, so we will see. Thanks everyone for watching, and remember that if you like this video you can subscribe, hit that notification button, and support us on the Patreon, because your support is allowing us to make this great content. And that was Fenris, and I'm out.